let me tell you, if someone actually told me that they would rather be called something, I probably would,
Hmm.
because I don't like to offend anyone. But at the same time,
Hello, hello.
hello.
All right, there we go. Yeah, it wasn't Discord for whatever reason always wants to go to my like default computer mic instead of my actual nice microphone for whatever reason. But yeah. Anyway, how is it going? Can I nice to meet you too. Can I get your name real quick so I know who I'm referring to?
Well, you could call me Dissolute Void. It's
Just Void, you said?
yeah, yeah, sure. Void would
Sounds
be
good.
cool.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, just something a lot of people
Definitely,
the last couple of people like usually have a username or whatever. I don't really just something so I can use a name.
definitely. Hey, I just want to say that I really I think it's really awesome to meet you, and this is my first time talking to a YouTuber of any caliber, and I told my friends to watch, and
Oh, I certainly appreciate that.
yeah,
I
yeah, I
definitely
was like,
appreciate that.
hey,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done
definitely.
this a couple times. I find whenever people make either substantive or uniquely interesting points, I'll usually offer them a an invite onto the show. I like talking with people, so I
Yeah,
want to
same here.
I want to hear the and work out the stuff.
Hmm.
I'm rather small, so you're not going to be
No, I
blasted to the
appreciate.
largest degree, but I do what I can.
I appreciate, like, you have like tons of videos on YouTube, and
I
I
do.
was looking like, wow, you have like tons of videos. You put a lot of work and effort in, and like, you're actually really consistent with your points, and I that's why I actually just looked recently. I was like, wow, this guy's really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
as somebody with a full time job, I have just enough time to kind of do this and, working hard, trying to juggle as much as I can. You got to kind of make it in this world. They say, when
Hmm.
you're doing what you like, you don't work a day in your life. So, um,
That's
but
for
anyway,
sure.
just to give anybody watching, whether if this goes up for a segment or anybody live, just to kind of some background. So I put a video out. I want to say it was definitely in the beginning of the week. Probably it went up on Tuesday. Speaking about HeelvsBabyface's reaction to Starfield's use of pronouns, and I've played the intro section of Starfield. I have a bit of knowledge of the character creators. There is the option to pick your pronouns. Um,
Hmm.
and Void here's lovely enough to join us. They found it a bit of a problem. The thing that stuck out with me was the terminology of comply. So I'm
Hmm.
kind of curious where that feeling of compliance comes from your end. I've seen I get an okay amount of comments, and I see a lot of people negatively responding to the whether it be the pronoun stuff or whatever. And I'm just kind of curious, where are you getting that, I guess, feeling from? Like what is it
Hmm.
that like you use the word comply? Where did that come
Yes.
from, I guess?
Well, I mean, it's pretty strange because I also I also make video games, and I feel like it kind of sucks that now nowadays in the video game industry, a lot of people are probably gonna have to put these things in their games more often than because just to gain political points.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel that's like really unfair if all businesses are like complying to political views. I think that's like really nasty.
Right.
It gets really mucky really quickly when politics and video games get together. You
All right.
know?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can understand a little bit of that. So, I guess I'm curious. So, something that I kind of try to separate the meat from the chaff on is a little bit of this like inserting video games into politics. Now, I am somebody who believes that video games, like a lot of forms of art, are
Mm-hmm.
creative works by large teams of people. Sometimes, obviously, there's there's small dev teams, there's big dev teams, but they're created by people. And I think when you have people, you're going to get politics somewhere in those kinds of games. So I guess I'm curious when you say like bring politics into it. My view is there's always politics in video games. Same way there's always politics that are going to be involved with really any
Well, I
kind of
mean, like
creative
a game
medium.
like Mario or Tetris, there's
Hmm.
probably no politics in those type of games. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
And
to a
then you could
degree,
work your way up. Well, how? I mean, that's kind of going a little far of the topic, but like, how would they be?
I mean, if we're talking like Mario, something where you're not creating a character, you're probably not going to get those. I guess you're obviously not going to get pronoun questions, stuff like that, right? But
Yeah.
in something like Mario, there's absolutely politics involved in Mario. There's the damsel trope when it comes to the female characters, which is taking a back seat more in the last, I don't know, maybe I'd say like 10 to 15 years, that we started seeing kind of Princess Peach, and you have kind of the female characters not
Well,
looked
I
upon
get that.
as much of as like rewards for the character being the games, basically.
Well,
And that's political, and there were
definitely.
people who had
Uh,
problems with that back in the day.
Well,
I remember
one
those
thing
debates.
is that I definitely can see that, but one thing is that when you're creating a story, something so simple as a knight in shining armor saving a princess does come into mind when
Hmm.
in a lot of creative processes.
Right.
That's very common. And that shouldn't be political debate. Because it's a part of our humanity as far as we know.
Right. What do you mean is part of our humanity, I guess?
Well,
Like
because it's been
the
in our history, about how we write stories.
Okay, so you're talking about like kind of the history of like storytelling then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Like, if somebody's consider like coming up with an idea, they're obviously like going to hit like something common that everybody can be attached to. But then, of course, with any type of speech, there's always going to be people that don't like what you're saying. And
Right. Yeah.
even if it's something common. And yeah, I could see that why that could be kind of political, but it's not really, and it never was supposed to be. I don't like I don't remember that.
What do you I guess my question is like what do you like cuz you're using political. So like like I run back again to the thing of like every decision, almost every decision you make in a creative work is drawing from some kind of angle of politics, who you choose to be saving, how you choose to write your villain characters, how you choose to write your hero characters. So like I feel like a lot of times when I talk to people about like art and stuff like that, um there becomes this like, oh, trans trans identity is
Hmm.
political, but what's the word, like
Yeah.
like heterosexual interest in characters, the ability to like romance, like if you're a male character, the ability to romance a female character, that's not political, but it's political to be able to romance a male character if you're a male character. And that's kind of what I'm wondering is like, where's
Hmm.
your bar of like, what is are politics just stuff you think shouldn't be
Yeah.
like we
Well,
should always is like, you get
okay.
what I'm
So
asking,
the
right?
gender
Yeah.
debate. So the
Hmm.
gender debate, right? Like,
Give me like 2 seconds. One
yo.
second. Give me like one
Okay.
second. My cat's, well, this one wants out, so I'm gonna release him so he can stop making. Go on. Go on. There's another one, but she's like right there. She doesn't mind being here. She'll sit. Oh, wait, where did I put? Oh, yes, I did. I put it behind my chair. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, the gender debate. So that's a hot topic political issue,
Right.
and it's been there for quite a long while actually. I thought maybe it had sprouted in the last 10 years. I actually look back, and it's been a topic of debate for a very very long time. It's not just the last 10 years, and you're right. Maybe I've been raised in this type of way that I'm in this bubble where okay, this is different to me, and like I probably don't like the idea of change though. Maybe I'm too old or something.
You're
But
never too old to learn stuff, but it does get
no,
harder the
but
older you get.
yeah,
As a
like
leftist, there are people who there's I don't know if you've heard of the debate around like xenogenders and xenopronouns and stuff like that. I look at and I'm like, man, I'm like growing up for me, it was already a debate about gay rights and like gay marriage, and
yeah, but
anything
how
past
much
that is already a bit, it's just like, all
how
right, like,
much of our brain do they want to occupy? It's like, language used to be simple, and now having to remember a lot of the more things that you have to remember, that is actually taxing on the brain. We
I
can only
mean,
keep track of so much, and our attention span is getting smaller as a species, actually.
yeah, I
you
mean,
know
I
like
definitely wouldn't disagree with you on that, unfortunately, due to social
yeah.
media. But like, what do you? Okay, so again, and I know I'm picking specific things, and I'm being a bit nitpicky here, but who is they? I want to hammer down who they is.
Well, what I mean, I guess they're calling themselves days. Anything outside of the bubble that I used to know was reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's only until recently that I started seeing like what it's actually like out, after coming out of high school and like getting a job and, realizing there's all these types of things that, I wasn't used to growing up. And
Do you mind
a
if I
lot
ask
of
how old you
people.
are?
I'm actually 34 right now.
Okay, okay, so you're a little bit behind. You're just a little bit ahead of me. I'm 31, so
Well, yeah, but you know what? I get it though. You know, the pronoun use comes from a place to show tolerance for any lifestyle. You know, it's like if you want to be called something, and let me tell you, if someone actually told me that they would rather be called something, I probably would.
mm-hmm.
Because I don't like to offend anyone. But at the same time, I feel that like for it to become political and have like it be called hate speech if somebody gets pronouns wrong, that could actually lead to a lot of chaos in our world. You know what
Right,
I mean?
yeah. I mean, I certainly do think that there's so one thing that I've heard people mention, and like Jordan Peterson got very famous. I'm assuming you're aware of him.
Chaos.
He got very
Yeah.
famous, going on. I don't know if he went on Twitter. I don't remember what platform he went on, but going on Joe Rogan and other platforms and doing the whole
Yeah,
talk
the one that I saw.
they will pull my free speech from my cold dead hands. I will misgender you because it is necessary for my freedom of speech. And when
Nice
it comes to
expression.
stuff like that, it's to me it always comes off as people who haven't experienced like kind of not I don't want to say like people being rude, but I want to say like very specific kind of hate speech, because what we're
Hmm.
talking about when we're really talking about laws around misgendering people, what those are in place for is really to tamp down people who would go out of their way. And when like let's say like a good example is like if you go up to Starbucks, and if you've been to Starbucks especially recently, a lot of times people will have their little name tag, and usually they'll like write in those fun pens their pronouns, and those are just there
Hmm.
to help the customer, in case somebody might be non-binary, in case somebody, like you can't see it, or maybe I don't remember if I had it in the video. I have really long hair. I've worked in a lot of I work in kitchens, and I've worked in like open style kitchens, and I've
Hmm.
been confused for a woman, if you can believe that. I have a beard, but if you see me from a distance, and if I have my hair down, and if I've shaved or whatever, I've people have come up to me and like, excuse me,
Yeah,
ma'am,
yeah.
and I turn
People
around and
confuse me for my sister.
yeah,
I definitely get that.
and
But
yeah.
like, yeah, the definitely like one thing is that so
And let me finish real quick. Let me
mhm.
finish real quick. And my point to saying that is the only thing that hate speech laws in terms of people's pronouns are going to be inhibiting is the same kind of activity that I think you and me can agree on that the government kind of has an interest in stepping into. If somebody wants
Hmm.
to vehemently keep on calling somebody who is who is trans whatever is the opposite of their preferred pronouns, then it's kind of obvious after a point that they're just like a racist trying to upset somebody. If somebody's yelling, the N word
Yeah,
at
the
somebody,
same thing could be
it's
on the
that's
opposite side.
mhm.
The
What do you
same
mean?
thing could be on the opposite side where somebody can use that to, say that, oh, somebody misgendered them, and then they could have a bunch of their friends as witnesses,
Right.
and they would actually abuse that, and it has been abused in Canada,
I mean,
you know.
I'm not sure the instance you're talking about, but what I'm thinking when I think of that, if you go up to an officer, right? Because police aren't everywhere. Police are not
Hmm.
everywhere.
Of course,
So
yeah.
what would you like? What is the realistic outcome of this? You call the cops and you go, "Hey, this guy misgendered me." That was like, and he kept like doing it. And if you were lying, you were like, "And my friends can all attest to this." They're gonna
Hmm.
ask you, "Is the person still in the store that you're working on, or are they still around you?" And if they're like, "Oh no, they like paid for their stuff, was an asshole and left," then the cops are gonna go, "Well,
Well, I
maybe
mean,
you
they can
could ban
actually
them.
lie
You
about
could
that
put their
too.
name up on the thing and do like the, ban from the store due to this." But, you know, the police aren't going to get involved. The only time the police really step in is when they show up. And I've seen instances of this, but from a, not
Hmm.
for trans people, but when people are, especially, you see this at bars when they're yelling, when it's like, you're kind of on the cusp of two people getting into it. Cops show up and go, okay, okay, everyone to one side. What's going on? Some people go, I've seen it where people go like, yo, that dude called me the N word. I'm not like, and all his friends and da 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 da. And then walks over. He's like, did you say the N word? And he's like, oh, well, and they have the whole conversation. And then, cops usually do like all right, you go home, you get the fuck out of here. Stop being
Hmm.
racist. Everyone just chill the fuck out. Everyone go home. Most of the time, hate speech usually isn't, I don't know what the rates are in Canada, and I don't even know what the rates are in the United States. But the idea that
Hmm.
we're going to have this rash of people, falsely claiming that random individuals are
But
misgendering
that's the
them,
same thing.
I just don't see where that's gonna turn into a problem. I
That's
guess.
the same thing. That's the same thing for the other side too. Is that if like how many people are actually going to be against, misgendering and doing it like wrongly on purpose if it's being supported so much,
What do you
like
mean?
right now, because there's so much support for LGBTQ
Oh,
and
okay, I get what
gender.
you're saying. Okay, okay, okay.
There's
Yeah,
so much support that anybody would see it as wrong right away if that was to happen.
right.
And like the only odd situation would be if those two people are alone, which then the person, they could call each other whatever they want in their private setting,
Right,
you
yeah.
know. And if it's a person that's unsafe, like maybe at night, like that's terrible, but that stuff does happen, but it's not going to be as often. I think they would be equally as often, you know.
Well, I don't know about that because we do have at the very least, we don't have like a ton of data on trans people's interactions in public, but we do have a ton, but like we don't have a ton, but the data that we do have is
Yeah.
examples of assault rates for trans people, which are a lot higher in terms of like, when you compare them to say like, gays or even like bisexual people, like we see a really high and notable rate
Hmm.
of abuse, like physical abuse of trans people in public. So it kind of just feels like this is, not that I
I
really
mean,
support or am trying to fight for any kind of specific law, but I do
so
kind of
one thing
think this is
is,
something where
yeah.
if you could say, hey, like, and most people I don't think go immediately to call the cops. Most people are like, all right, asshole, just please leave me alone, stop talking to me. And if somebody keeps bothering you, usually then you're like, all right, look, I'm gonna call the cops if you keep bugging me, you keep calling me man or whatever the fuck, and I'll
No,
deal with it
well,
that way.
one thing is definitely like that does seem to be happening a lot. But the thing is that everybody is, when they see someone like with a different color wig, or different color hair,
Blue haired
like
liberals.
they're going, yeah, like they're going to see if, like, if they're fighting, somebody's gonna have a camera. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? they're
yeah.
gonna they're gonna catch that more often than the regular fights that are gonna happen, because That one looks more it looks more colorful, it's more popping, like whoa, like this person, oh my
I mean, I
goodness,
think most people just
and then
film a lot of interactions basically. But
well,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
get what you mean. There's at the
like
very
those are going to
least
be popular
yeah,
because
it'll certainly
that's a
get more attention
popular.
online.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And just like that woman who went to GameStop, the transgender woman that went to GameStop, and
Mm-hmm.
like she
I don't think I'm familiar with the
uh
story. If you want to give me some background.
well, GameStop got someone's pronoun wrong,
Uh huh.
and she was like, "It's Bam,"
Yeah,
but it said in a real
yeah,
masculine voice.
yeah. I mean, look, individual like stuff like that. It's always like, trust me, I can go on the internet and find people
Uh-huh.
honestly acting pretty foolish, or at the very least, people, especially nowadays, people get really like. I've noticed people just generally are on edge a lot more, and that might just be
Hmm.
because of social anxiety. And this isn't like, I don't think, a left or right thing. How many videos, I'm sure you've seen videos of people watching, cringe,
No, wait a
MAGA
second.
supporters
But
getting
that is a
all
political
like
issue, though.
out of the all acting all like out of bounds in Walmart or whatever, like
Yeah,
I mean, I
I
think
feel
that's a
like that
political.
is
I think a lot of
political.
things are let me be clear, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of things, I think basically everything is involved in politics.
Well, I mean, I just recently got into politics, and I thought like, wow, this is very foolish. That all
People
these
are very anxious.
conversations are being had, and it's something that doesn't really come to light unless it's in America. America, where we can talk and be whoever we want. And in other countries, like in most of the world, like you wouldn't even be able to choose, like in a Muslim country or
Well, in a
in
Muslim
China,
country, they just stone you to death. Like for a long
yeah.
time, they just stone you to death.
Uh-huh. Hmm. And that, like, I mean, like, it's just the way that we raised up in all these stories. I mean, like, it's very religious, it's very all political, and I do agree with you. There's a lot of politics, but you know what? Let's get back to
Hmm.
let's get back to Starfield.
Right. So yeah.
You
So
know,
like again, the like is I guess the main question is like, what is the issue then? And again, back to the
hmm
comply thing. I'm curious,
uh huh.
like why the feeling of compliance, I guess.
Well, yeah, like I told you that as a game
Hmm.
designer, like, yeah, there's so many options to put in a game, and like I said, one thing is that the trans people that are being misgendered,
Hmm.
they are they're the ones that have like a high suicide rate, and it's really messed up, and it's
I
really
don't know if that's a,
bad.
yeah. I mean, non-acceptance of
That
trans people
that's one
does
of the
track to yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing that's the thing that's driving that suicide rate real high.
Hmm.
But the thing that Starfield did was so wrong because look at this. How are they going to put that you could pick your pronouns in Starfield and have you play your character,
Right.
and the characters in game don't even call you by the pronouns that you picked. So that's actually having more people get misgendered.
Don't you? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
if you pick a,
they
well, I know my, well, I haven't seen her play it yet, but
yeah,
I
it's
know
all over Twitter.
she played a
It's
female
all over
character.
Twitter.
Hmm.
It's all over Twitter that they're getting misgendered in the when they pick their pronouns.
Right.
And like that's something that I feel is
Wouldn't that just be a
because of,
coding issue then?
well,
Because most of
that's the
that's like
thing.
if it doesn't insert the
Think
right audio file,
think
right?
about it like this. Think about it like this. Bethesda has been working on this game, and then you know they
Oh, brother,
add
we
this
know glitches,
feature.
bro. Trust me, we
Yeah,
know. We're all gamers
yeah.
here. We know how it is with
But this
them.
is this is more than a this is more than a glitch because they would have to fix all the audio in game. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That would take a hefty update, for them to fix like that, maybe him and her having to switch it off with each phrase in every voice clip. Like that's too much. I think, that's really definitely really hard task for them to do. But the fact that they didn't think of it in the inception of the game, you know, they didn't think of that to actually have everyone called by their gender that they picked. as their pronoun is, I think that's terrible, for Starfield to do. And that's why if they were not going to go all the way and implement the idea full throttle, they should have never done it at all. You know?
I guess I don't really see I guess for me it's one of those cases where, if that is true, again, I think, what did I get through? I got through the intro, and I think the space combat tutorial bit.
Mm.
I don't even think I've gone to. I don't even think I've gotten that really out of the
Yeah,
first
I've just
couple
been
of
watching
hours.
Charlie play.
Yeah, but like, my thing is if if there's like a if and again, I haven't seen any of this on Twitter. I try not to spend too much time there, but
Mhm.
if there's an issue where people are being misgendered, I am really skeptical of people going on Twitter, making an account, and then trying to do the like. There's always going to be that skepticism for me, that there are going to be people who want to make this into an
Well, I mean,
issue or whatever,
that's
and go
gonna hurt
online and be
them.
disingenuous. But also, if it's really just the voice lines are messed up, because for sure we can know that they most likely recorded every single voice line with using he, her, he, him, she, her, and then they, them pronouns. Like, there's no chance that they didn't record all of those. And what we're talking about now is really a coding issue, which, again, coding issues aren't really
Nah,
new
I
for
feel like
Bethesda. It's, there
I
isn't a
feel like it's
Bethesda
more
launch
than a
without
coding issue.
glitches.
I'll tell you, I feel like it's more than a coding issue because if the game that they started out and they didn't implement it in the beginning and didn't
Hmm.
have like, then they must have added it towards the end and to please a crowd. That's what I believe. I believe that they just added it towards the end just to get political points.
So they added,
And if
I
it
mean, let's be clear, they would have only really added the they, them ones. The he, him, and she, her ones were probably in it from beginning. We can agree on that, right?
yeah, but
Since those two were
not for the
probably,
characters.
well,
Like
no,
a lot of people are
for the created
complaining.
characters, yeah. Like,
No,
you could always
they
play a
don't.
female or male in Bethesda
You
games. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
but
sure
if you
more
pick a
one number.
if you pick a female or male, but when you pick your
Right.
pronouns, they're still gonna call you by what the model was, and that's the
Oh,
big
okay.
thing
So I
about it.
understand what you're saying. You're saying that if you pick a male, what would look like a male model, normally in the old games, well, yeah, because I guess there wasn't a selection. But I mean, that's not really all that, I think, complicated to code. I'm not a coder. You would know more than me, but for the most part,
Mm.
wouldn't that just be assigned dialogue one depending on what you pick, and that's pretty much it? Like, that seems like a rather small like
You
patch.
know, whether it's big or small, like if it's a small thing, like they didn't think they must have added it towards the end if they never got
Right.
through that.
I
And
mean,
that's
maybe, yeah.
why I think
I
that
don't know their
it's
dev
just
cycle,
a
but yeah.
terrible thing. I feel like that's what happened.
Do you feel
And
like
that's really,
they should have gone more heavy
you know
on the
if
LGBT stuff?
I get it. It's a futuristic game, and in order to have a futuristic setting, you have to jump to certain conclusions,
Mm-hmm.
especially politically.
Right.
Like I understand that, like, but yeah, I would have been happier, yeah, if they would have went full throttle and just made it, like that there could be that they could have definitely picked it and be called what they have to be called. I guess
Right. I mean,
it's a video
yeah.
game,
I mean, for all intents and
definitely.
purposes, that is the design. But like, if there's glitches getting in the way of that, then I mean, that's a technical issue. But I just don't see the evidence that this was a late change or a late addition. Like, unless it's just it doesn't work properly. But a lot of stuff doesn't work properly all the time with Bethesda games. Doesn't That just kind of feels like a design pipeline problem.
Well, they chose to stumble on the wrong rock, I would say.
And and I guess I'm
Because
curious, is the issue, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'm just curious, is the issue that, like, you think it's disingenuous that they put that sort, like, any kind of gender ambiguity in the game? Like, do you think that's just disingenuous, and they are like because it seems like the pandering part is also important to you, if you can expand on that.
so, well, this is the thing. It's like they could have, if they would have done it, they should have gone full throttle. And if
Mm-hmm.
they like the thing that I felt that is whack is that now a lot of games are seeing to implement this feature, just because it's going to get them a lot more views, and on the YouTube pages getting debated about on YouTube, and
I
like
suppose.
that's
I didn't notice.
that's
I noticed
actually.
nobody. Baldur's Gate actually has the same options. I noticed
Mhm.
nobody really talked much about Baldur's Gate. Now again, like
Well.
nobody freaked out the same way that that other YouTuber did, but like it's literally the same system. I was running through the character creator right before stream. It's literally the same system. You can pick
Yeah, I
body
would tell you
types
that
and a
Heels
lot of
versus
stuff.
Babyface is very exaggerated.
Yeah, I mean, I got that sense.
Yeah, he's very exaggerated, but you know what? He tells people what like a lot of people have in their back of their mind. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, I
he's
certainly
speaking
think he's,
people
you know,
thoughts out loud. you know,
yeah. I mean, I just don't
and the
like. I think I said in the video, I just don't think he has any kind of idea what he's talking about. Like I think he was screaming about like gender ambiguity and talking about wanting to, you know, endless, boundless possibilities of worlds and space, and he's thrown off by the use of pronouns or the options to use them. I like to me it came off that he doesn't know what or like how to approach pronouns, because pronouns are just tools in the English language for us to make quick assumptions on like people's identity. That's all it
well,
really
I
is,
mean, he
for the
he
most part.
actually, one thing is that he actually just speaks to one political side, and that's why his videos are very attracting to that side. It's like he's always bringing up what issues that he sees will fit that side, and
Right.
like
He seems rather right wing, just based
one
on
thing
my
is.
one view.
Mhm. Definitely, like and I respect that. At least he's just speaking his mind out there. He's speaking what people, what what issues he sees that people, the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Do you think it
You
matters
know,
that he's kind of ignorant of like what he's talking about? I don't know everything he talks about, but at least on this, he's pretty ignorant on like the facts and a few other things. So I'm kind of like, do you
well,
think that
I mean,
matters or
so this is what I would say is that I believe that, yeah, like, hey, he probably might be ignorant to it. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, but he you know it's like everyone is going to be ignorant about that. A lot of people are still ignorant about these things, and when when talking about something new like that, and bringing up these things, like it's just the new things are always going to pop out to people much more quickly than like the same old,
right?
and that's what's gonna happen is he's gonna talk about it because he knows that everybody's gonna be, oh, they added this feature in the game, huh? Like it's just a phenomenon.
I suppose. I mean, the I don't know about. Let's see. One second, America's favor. Nope. Favor. Sorry, I was going to look this up before I said anything. Here we go. This is what I want, because like the whole thing of like this topic being kind of news or like uniquely new. I don't know if it is. For the last what 2 years we've probably been talking a lot about trans identity, especially if you're online.
That's
I
in the
noticed that
media, definitely.
there's a pretty, as I can speak to this as a very small YouTuber, I know what gets me views. You know what gets me views? When I respond to Matt Walsh, when I respond to Tim Pool, when I respond to Ben Shapiro, when I respond to any of those guys, I will
Uh-huh.
see a huge spike in my views, especially if it's around the trans issue. That
Hmm.
seems to be the just the like a topic that I
Yeah.
notice a lot of right wing content creators are really interested in always talking about. And I feel like
Hmm.
the what is his name? Is it AZ? I saw people in my comments saying AZ. That's not his name, right? His name isn't Az.
I.
I don't know what that means. But that guy,
Mm,
the Heels versus Babyface guy, which I
mm.
also resent that that's his name and he doesn't talk about professional wrestling, by the way. But like I see a lot of people who try to make a lot of their content, even though it seems like he does a lot of pop culture stuff, is kind of more around gaming and around cinema stuff. But looking through it, it just kind of comes off to me as British bald the quartering, and a lot of that kind of cringe lefty trigger content. But
Hmm.
I don't really know, like, I guess
Hmm.
having that kind of outrage and reaction means he's genuine, he's not a grifter. But like, do you think it's a problem that like he's kind of just talking to people who also are maybe like you, a bit inexperienced, or don't have, I don't know
Hmm.
if you've met a trans person before, or like been, like, I've worked with one or two, I want to say. Actually, what am I saying? I work with one now.
I've met a
Um
couple. I've
and
met a
like,
couple. You know,
I,
it's pretty
I don't
prevalent now.
suppose those people seem that different from anybody else to you. And once you got used to saying their pronouns, which sometimes, this is something that I'll say for the left. This is something that I'll say for
Hmm.
my side. We're not always great about distinguishing between people kind of, making mistakes and trying to correct that, and trying to, like, I've done it where I've accidentally misgendered somebody and then I get corrected. I'm like, right, got it. And I might do it one more time
You know,
after that.
just like
But like,
just like
you
how
make it
I'm
an
not
effort.
really good at getting people's names right.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
I'm a
You
faces
know, it's
person.
something
I'm
that.
shit with names. I tell
Hmm.
everybody that all the time.
Hmm.
And sometimes people, I think, and especially on the left, there is I think a defensive posture, especially around people's trans people specifically, their place in society, because you have people like Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, all the people I mentioned, and people like Heels versus Babyface, who react to that kind of content and make those identities, make just being trans in general, just at all, make that into a political debate when it shouldn't be. I don't think black people, like, I don't think there should be a debate, and I don't think anybody thinks there's a
Hmm.
debate on, do black people exist? Are black people a thing in society? Of course they are. We can observe them. They're right there. Some of us work with
Yeah.
them. But it turns into, oh, that's what trans people are to people like Matt Walsh, is a debate. And we turn it into, oh, should they be included in video games? Should you get to pick your pronouns? If you're trans, maybe you want to pick your pronouns. Maybe you want to pick your pronouns. Maybe you want to pick the opposite of your pronouns. I play as female characters sometimes because I'm a dude. I'm a dude 24/7. I get bored of
Hmm.
being a guy. Maybe I want to be a hot chick sometimes. But like, it's
Yeah.
just
No, I feel. I
inclusion, I
mean,
think, is
especially
good.
in the
I just,
internet, we
as a
have all
value,
this
period.
anonymity. In the internet, we have all this anonymity, and a lot of people, can use that to, be whatever they want. They can choose to become a persona of their own favorite character that they design or that someone else designed for them. This is that type of age where that people can do that, and but in the real world, it's a lot more difficult to discern. You know, like people automatically jump to conclusions, and people, especially if they never been introduced to this, like, and a lot of Muslim and Chinese people are moving into America. A lot of people are going to America and they're going to see this for the first time, and then they might think of it, and, they're going to fall into either side. They're going to either fall into the side where is outrage, like, what is this, and then they're going to fall into another side where, you know one side is trying to push this as much as possible so it could be the norm. And that is, something I feel like, I mean, it's just very conflicting for people, and they a lot of people are usually going to pick that one side, over the other type thing, and it's always going to be divisive. It's something that's, I feel like, it's unsolvable, I believe.
I mean, okay, so you're 34, so you're kind of around
Mm.
my age. Does this not kind of just sound like gay marriage when we were growing up? Like, how many years was gay marriage this exact argument that people just aren't used to gay people, that marriage
Hmm.
is an institution that's centuries old, and people coming from
Hmm.
other countries are going to be put off? And we do see that. We do see people who immigrate here
So
as
this is an old view, yeah.
this is, to me, just the new thing that people just kind of need to come to the grips of. Hey, we have more variety of human being on this planet.
Yeah, that okay. So what I think is that, the old view, which was that, we need a lot of humans to populate a country.
Mm-hmm.
Like a country can't be anything without people, right? And so
I
the
suppose.
old view was scared that, if a part of humanity goes into those type of ventures, then we would have less people, and so they think of it as, oh, like our the American population is dwindling, so we shouldn't be promoting that because then our population won't grow as a people. And like that I feel like that's the major concern with right wing commentators. Like, they make it pretty like
Shouldn't they be in? But
they try to be
they're not in
pro-life.
favor of immigration either, though.
Well, I mean, they want to make it, they want to make it at least a little difficult for people to come into the country. You know what I mean?
Why?
It's like, because I mean, it's the best country in the world to me, at least. And I
Why are we
remember
the best
like my
country?
mom. Well, I mean, all the freedom that we have, the fact that we can have these type of debates, like all around the world, there's a lot of places that you can't even speak about this type of stuff.
I mean, I would definitely
That
agree. You
it's
can't really do a lot
inconceivable.
of debate in Saudi Arabia. Get your hands chopped
Mm,
off or stoned to death.
yeah.
Well, for being
Hmm.
gay, also.
Hmm.
But I
Like
mean, a lot of
that's
countries have freedom of speech. Maybe not all the way to our extent. It kind of depends on in each
that that
individual
extent
country.
that
But
extent is
certainly
why I think it's.
from the Americas, we could all. I mean, aren't we all North and South American? We kind of come from the same like hemisphere.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't been to South America, or
I haven't been since
my
birth, so me
yeah,
neither.
my but I think that this is the best country because, yeah, we do have all this freedom to talk about all these type of things. And that I feel like, yeah, that this is going to be a debate for all time. It's not going to be something that's going to be solved because it hasn't been solved. People want to be treated a certain way, and some people would rather, sticks and stones, like, I'm not gonna be told what to say, type thing.
Well,
You
isn't
know?
that kind of like that kind of cuts both ways though? If some
Hmm.
like if someone's asking you, hey, like, can you refer to me as like my name? Like, if I told somebody my name was Josh and then they came up to me, and actually it's happened before where people have misunderstood me
Hmm.
and they've called me John, and I could choose to
Hmm.
be like, no, excuse me, my name is Josh. And they could
Hmm.
they could be like, no, I think your name is John and I don't give a shit, fuck yourself. I'm gonna call you John from now on. Like, I'd say that we'd all kind of say that, yeah, that you're being a bit
Yeah,
unreasonable. Like I'm not, there's not
yeah. If
really
somebody
like
was
a
not.
I
Mhm.
don't know if that's really something we need to stick up for, or something we need to
Yeah, but that's my
codify.
point. It's like it shouldn't be. I feel like it shouldn't. This, since it's such a hot topic, like like ongoing and forever, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be up
The So I'm curious.
for government,
I
to
mean, I guess I'm talking,
implement it.
when you say the topic forever, do you mean just trans identity?
Well, trans identity, any identity. It's not even just the trans. It's
I
just
mean, you
like
think
now
black
people want to be
people's
referred to.
identity is up for debate? I don't think it is. I think most
No, I
people
think I think those are
are like, black
people.
people exist. Yeah.
Yeah, they're people, and they like everybody can just see that we're all human beings at the end.
Right.
Maybe if you want to not refer to yourself as a human being and want to be an alien or whatever, it's up to you. But it's also up to the other person if they're going to refer to you as that. You know it shouldn't be that they're going to put that into law.
Well, I think
I
I
would
like,
say.
well, the same way I think, I look at it as the same way. Like, I don't think in America, just because you don't want to, not refer to a black person as the N word, like, I think that's a case where the state should step in and go, hey, you need to be civil. There is civility that we have to
I
Hello?
abide
mean,
by in society. And
Hello?
that's,
Can you hear me?
oh my goodness, what is happening?
well,
Oh, is there
someone
somebody else in
joined.
here?
Yeah,
Oh,
someone just
Yeah,
joined.
hello?
sorry, I'm gonna have to mute you. I didn't realize. I thought I closed this already. God, I don't like
Hey,
Discord.
what's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey there. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get muted because I didn't realize I had this still open.
Why? Oh, I just wanted to join in on the conversation.
Okay, give me like a minute then. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't realize this was still open to the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, they probably used the same link. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. They can jump in afterwards. But anyway, where were we? Yeah. I mean, like I just don't. I guess I don't like in terms of policing speech. We already do pretty light versions of this. Again, you can't yell
I feel
fire
like
in a
those type
crowded
of
theater. You know, you can't hurt. You can't yell. You literally can't yell even non-hate speech. You can't just yell at people in public. Yeah, the cops will show up and be like, you need to chill the fuck out. Like, you need to chill out. Stop yelling at people. We will just arrest you for disorderly conduct. Like, that's already a thing. So I don't really see how this is, I guess, unique.
yeah.
In that way.
So what? Yeah, like I feel like so if there's things that they police already in speech, and yeah, those things are definitely messed up things. Maybe the fire in a theater, you know, that hits one of the things of all our fears is that, oh, we're gonna be trapped in a room and we're not gonna be able to escape. But
Well,
as
it's mainly
far
because it's
as
just dangerous. Because then people freak out and people get hurt. That's
yeah,
like the main thing. Yeah.
but one thing is that okay, so the N word, for example, you know, like if they was to put they did put this to law, and one thing is that, you know, I felt that it was never necessary, because if you say the N word and you're not supposed to, you mess around and you find out, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna
Yeah.
let you get away with that, you know, if you're going to do that. Now they put law on top of it, which is like a double whammy, you know,
Uh,
where
I mean, so do you mind if I ask, did you grow up in the South at all?
no, I grew up. I'm actually from Jersey,
Okay.
but I actually moved to Florida. I moved down to Florida last year.
Gotcha. So I grew up in the South for a
Mm-hmm.
large part of my upbringing. Um and while you are correct that, you know, if you're a white person and you go up and say the N-word to black people who don't know you, by the way, I've had
Hmm.
white friends. I had, like, a lot of my friends growing up are a lot of mix of races. But like, if there was a white guy who walks up to our group of friends and says the N-word, they are
Yeah,
going to face a certain kind of reaction. But
yeah.
that's not a
It's hit or
reaction.
miss.
Yeah,
I
but
think
that's
it's
not a
hit or miss.
reaction that the government or the state is endorsing, which is the main mechanism how we govern what is and what isn't allowable, you know, actions within our, like, within our society. Like, we can't endorse vigilantism because the problem that you run into is if somebody says the N-word to,
Hmm.
you know, a group of black people, fucks around, finds out, right?
Hmm.
When that person either dies or is incredibly injured, especially if they die, we have no way of finding out if they ever even said it. For all we know, he just rolled, you know, he just walked past some people and they killed him. There's a lot
Yeah,
of instances where that kind of, like, loose and ambiguous nature gets kind of dangerous and doesn't allow us to properly, like, honestly police our, like,
but
population to a
just
degree. We can't determine where justice is being upheld and where it's not. In the past, we had tons of examples of white racists in the South saying that some black person did something, you know, talked to a white woman, said something to a white woman, and then they'd go and lynch him, and they'd say, "Oh, well, you know, it was because, you know, he fucked around and
yeah,
found
that's a
out." We,
show
like,
trial. A show
yeah,
trial.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can't have that. Like, we need actual, I think, barriers to say, hey, this is not allowable. And, like, you know, hate speech is kind of one of them. I think that's, you know, I know people have their misgivings about hate speech laws, but, you know, without them, and again, they're not even enforceable the same, like, they're not enforceable immediately. There is usually a lot of, like, social enforcement, but, you know, the
Hmm.
cops aren't going to be behind you at every second. You say the N word and they just bap you over the head immediately and
Well, I
drag your
mean,
ass to jail.
if the cop found it offensive, he probably might.
I
You know,
mean,
I
possibly,
mean,
but that's,
if
again,
you
if you
offend
that,
a
yeah,
police officer, let's say he's a black guy and the person calls him an N-word, he's that person deserves everything that's coming to him.
Well, yeah,
But
they broke a hate speech law right in front of a police
a
officer,
cop.
in front of a person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. I mean, there's been a ton of times where
but
people just say "fuck you" to the police and they beat their ass anyway
mhm.
because policing is they're humans. They're gonna get pissed when
But
you
that's
do
one thing. It's like,
stuff.
okay, so in New York, like police are getting spat in the face and they don't do anything. They could go for whatever, whatever crime that they want to at times. If they're looking to reach a certain quota, they would have to make problems if they have to reach a certain quota sometimes. You know. But I don't want to get too off track. But what I want to say was that when saying stuff like the N word, people, they're just going to it's going to be hit or miss. Like some people even have the N word card that they say that they claim to have, where if they're like a white person or somebody that's non-black, that they can say the N word and it's fine because they were around that culture for such a long time or something, and was just allowed by the people in their neighborhood to say it. you
Yeah,
know
there's a lot yeah, it's been known to happen. Black cards have been
and
known to be had.
and that just makes it so confusing. If it's going to be a law that you can't say a certain word, then what's the point if people are going to get away with it anyway?
Well, I mean, keep in
That's
mind, like, if you say the N word to a black person that you're friends with, they're not going to report you to the police. And if the
Mhm.
police hear you say that to your black friend, they might give you the side eye, but if they notice that the
Mhm.
person you're saying it to, didn't say any, they just moved on, they didn't even note it, then you're
But
probably fine.
let's say that person wants to get into politics now, and then he has that instance that on a TikTok video he said the N word, and
I
now
suspect he'll
he
get a
has
lot
that
of views.
following.
I'll tell you right now, he'll do pretty goddamn well. That's pretty spicy. He will do
Definitely.
probably fairly well.
Oh man, that's terrible.
They're the
But
I
yeah.
suggest you go look up, I believe it's the Hodge twins
Uh-huh.
on YouTube. There's something.
That's they're kind of conservative, but they're really loosey goosey with the way they speak.
Well, yeah, I don't know what their politics are. I just know that they're two white boys who grew up in a black neighborhood and culturally are, I'm not going to say indecipherable, but they've taken on a lot of they've been around it for quite a while, and they have a certain amount of comfort around black people, which I don't have much of
The
an
Hodge
opinion on.
twins?
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's their name. I'd have to look it up again.
The
But
Hodge twins, I thought they were black.
no, I'm pretty sure they're not. One second, Hodge. I don't know how to spell their name. Twins. Oh, it's
Yeah.
with a D. Okay. No, not
Hodge.
wait. No, who am I thinking? Fuck. Wait. Boys. Let me see if I can actually find it.
You
Now I'm
thinking
like,
maybe Crowder or something?
no. It's no. What is it? Oh God. Let's see. N-word. I know it was like Vice. I think Vice did.
The Island Boys.
Possible. No, is it? No, wait. Is that it? How? God damn it! I don't remember what
I don't
these.
know.
They're like brothers. Oh God. Let's see. Removes. No. Oh my God. Grew up in the hood. Maybe that.
Oh, the Wayne's brothers.
Yeah. Maybe that sounds. No, because Wayne's Brothers is white chicks. God damn it! I don't remember these boys' names.
My friends
Like
were
I'm
laughing because I said
I'm
Island
trying to
Boys.
find him.
Oh
Da
man.
Vinci? That's not it. No, that's not it. I know that's not it. In the hood N-word. I just remember because the video started with them just like dropping the N-word, and it's like I'm fucking stupid. It's the Hoff twins. I was close.
Oh,
No jumper, coolest podcast.
Yeah, I
I was
haven't
really
seen that.
close. Yeah. It's HOFF, the Hoff twins. Interesting
Oh, no
individuals.
jumper. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, they're like rappers or something.
I don't probably. I mean, let's see. Hoff. Oh, no, it was Channel 5. That's who covered them. It wasn't Vice. I was thinking Vice. Yeah. Yeah, because they, yep.
Hey, we need help in the liquor department. We've been
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere and
there's
on
all-
every bitch.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do that.
It's a good video. These two are something else. But they grew up, I don't know where they grew up, but they grew up like in the fucking hood. And they got no
Yeah.
problem acting like it. Yeah, they say
No,
the
but
N-word, do the
fun,
whole
you know,
do the whole act like rich ass rappers in the hood. It's something. And like,
that's hilarious. Oh my
you know,
goodness.
but they get away with it. Like cops aren't gonna beat them over the head for saying the N-word because
Mm.
it's kind of socially acceptable for
But then
them
that's
at
the
least.
thing
They've
is, like,
gotten they've
what's
gotten
the
a
point
bit
of
of
having it? What's the point of having it? We already have like history to teach us that, like this type of behavior is
well,
wrong.
you're assuming
And
everyone
what
gets the
people
same
only
history lessons. You have to remember.
well,
Yeah.
oh, well,
Trust me,
I
the
mean,
South
it's
learned
on the
very
media.
different Civil War history.
But we have a whole Black History Month. We have so much things that we put forward to keep that history valid for so long. There's in Jersey, there's so many statues of Martin Luther King and what he's done.
But you want to know
And
how many statues there are of Confederate soldiers throughout the South? Quite a lot. There's like, and those weren't put up right after the war, before the war. Those were put up in the last like century, so that Black people knew, like, hey,
yeah.
this is the Confederacy. Just understand where you're
I
at.
mean, the
And
Confederacy. So, like, I understand that they own slaves, but like,
Mhm.
that's
They
all.
did.
Is that all that they're known for?
Well, the Confederacy is like a compilation of Southern states who seceded from the United States because of their insistence on the continuation of the institution of slavery. It was during the 19th century, during the 19th century, as the country kind of grew in space and in everything else and culture and everything, there was a lot of discuss and a lot of I think misgivings about slavery during that time. And as time progresses, people go, maybe we shouldn't own people, maybe that's just not cool anymore. But unfortunately, the South, in their infinite wisdom, were more interested in keeping slaves than keeping the country together. So they seceded. There's also an element to their economy. A lot of Southern states at that time relied on plantation and slave labor because it's free. You pay for your slave the same way you pay for your shovel, and you get as much labor until you kill them or their back breaks. In which case, most of the time, they'd kill them after that anyway. So,
Yeah.
Their economy relied on a lot of that. So there was a economic, like, we need slaves, but there was also a general cultural desire to keep slaves.
I mean, like, I definitely understand. Like, a lot of countries definitely like they had slavery, and they we America was definitely one of the first countries to abolish slavery
That's actually
in a
untrue.
much major way.
A lot of Europe had already abolished slavery. We were one of the last countries, in fact.
We were one of the last.
We're not like I don't
mean,
know the
there's still
exact number,
people
but
doing
we're not.
slavery now.
Yeah,
They're still
obviously,
doing slavery now. Like,
I believe there's a country, I don't remember the name of it, that still technically has slavery on the books. And even in some states there are weird there are like slave friendly laws.
Who was the Martin Luther King for them? Like, we don't learn about that. Like, do you know? Like,
in Europe, I don't know if there was, well, Black history in Europe is a bit different, mainly because Europe isn't where the slave trade ended up. It's mostly where all the commerce for the slave trade ended up. While the United States was buying and selling people in Africa on behalf of the crown in Europe and in the UK as an example, all the money flowed through there and everything, but the people came here to colonize this continent.
so they still benefited off of slavery, Europe at that time, even if
Yeah, they benefited certainly off of the sale. You know, the
yeah.
transatlantic slave trade was a triangle
Mhm.
network basically between the Americas, Europe, and what's the word? And Africa. And granted, when I say Europe, I'm being really unspecific because I don't know 100% of what is Germany and those kinds of areas because again, the actual border lines weren't as concrete and certainly were different back then. But mostly we're talking about like Spain. I don't know so much about Portugal, but certainly Spain, Italy, again the UK, those sorts of areas were dealing in a
Well,
lot of that stuff.
I wouldn't say that we were last. You know, that's what I would say. I wouldn't say that we were last, and we definitely tried to abolish slavery in a major way, where we try to televise it and put it at
Well,
into
televisions weren't
the
around at
media
that
as
point.
much. Well, I mean, Martin Luther King was definitely on TV. You know, that's
Well,
what I'm
yeah, but
saying. When we abolished it, you know, there
abolition was
was
passed in like
TV.
the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King wasn't until about another 100 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So this race thing, man. I mean, the slavery. The you know, you're right. I'm learning a lot of things from you right now. You're teaching me a bunch of things,
Yeah,
and you know,
this is
there's
what I
things
mean.
that
Where not everybody always has the
well,
history. That's just most of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely believe that we are definitely supporting the idea that that black people came from a a horrible past that definitely America was a part of. But today's people, is definitely a whole different generation of people. We're not the same people that we were before. Maybe like down here in Florida. I mean, I've only been here for a short while, but it's like
I'm sorry to hear that.
it's very.
My mom retired down there. She hates it.
Oh yeah.
She's from
Why?
Pennsylvania. She doesn't like. There's a lot of elements. She doesn't like the heat. She doesn't like the. There's a lot of things.
Oh yeah. Well, the heat is definitely a big
By
thing.
the way, to give you an idea, to give you an idea, the United Kingdom, France. Let's see. Let me double check. Yeah, in 1834, the UK and France abolished slavery. We are not until oh boy, somewhere. Let's see. I'll switch over so I can. Are we really all the way in the 18 Fugitive Slave Act of 1850? Where is it? Oh, I know. We'll just do 13th. 13th. There we go. Jesus. 19. No. That can't be right. 19. No. Ratifies 2013. Mississippi officially abolishes slavery. Ratifies 13th Amendment. Original on the 27th. When was that? In 20. Wait, what? Oversight was no 2 medical school colleges on an immigrant. 2013. That can't be right. That has to be one of those like weird little laws. My
Yeah,
point
look
being,
how
my point
it's
being,
very
we're not
hard to
looking
find.
until we are after the UK and France as examples. We're not last. We still have. There are still, I think 2020. I'm in the 2020s, and there is a bunch of
Very
like
late bloomers in the race debate.
what in 2013? No. According
Wow.
to this, in
United Kingdom.
2013, ratification of 13th Amendment in Mississippi. Oh boy, yeah. And then
Bro,
wherever the fuck this is, slavery was
why is
criminalized
United
in
Kingdom put
2010.
up twice?
These are all like different steps. These are all steps like this is Colorado prison exemption, remove Colorado's constitutional ban on slavery. That's fun. That's cool. In 2018.
Like,
So yeah, like
what step are we on?
we're on generally the 13th Amendment is looked at as the amendment that freed the slaves, but that begins the Reconstruction era. That leads into all the way up to about the 1960s when we're talking about MLK.
Yeah.
So we're still talking about 100 plus years of
Wow.
Jim Crow. If you're aware of, if you know what Jim Crow laws were, down in the South, they figured, well, if we can't own black people, we will just disenfranchise them and not make them equal parts of society for us. And that was another way that
No, yeah, like politically and as a community, definitely like just being really tough on black people. It's terrible.
right.
But
And what I'd like to
I,
avoid is just us repeating a lot of this kind of
mhm.
debate about people's existence and rights. I'd just like to avoid that when it comes to trans people. I don't feel like doing all that
Yeah,
rigmarole. I just think trans people exist. Pronouns aren't, you use pronouns every day. I use pronouns every day. Somebody asks you, hey, these are mine. If you could make an effort, make an effort. I don't really think it's
mhm.
that hard. The younger kids certainly are a lot
Yeah,
better and a lot,
socially, yes,
and I like to
socially,
see it in
yes.
my video games.
Well, yeah, okay. So in video games, like definitely, okay. Let's say The Witcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where let's say they try to make an online create your own character Witcher game,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
And
I can certainly see it. Surprised they haven't, honestly.
yeah, right. Well, uh, one thing is that the Witcher series has been based on Polish history
Right.
and Polish folklore. And one thing is that if let's say they were to try to introduce that into that online game, it would be kind of changing a lot of that where that came from, where the storytelling and all that stuff came from, you know.
Like the inclusion of trans people into the universe.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't
definitely.
I mean, I don't really see how that's I mean, is that wrong? I guess that's the big, like, is that bad? I don't
Well,
really see what the problem is in that. It's all
well,
it's all mythology, it's all fiction. It's not like
yeah,
we're
but
changing
it's
history. It's,
well, you are changing history because I mean it wasn't a part of the original folklore, and if you are,
but The Witcher's only
like
based loosely on like that kind of folklore, right?
no, I mean it's very very hard on the folklore because even the Polish leader gave Obama a copy of Witcher 3, and
This is a
because he
country's
said
greatest
that
export. Yeah.
he said that that the folklore is on point, and he really prized it as one of something that can teach people a lot about Polish people.
Are there not trans people who are Polish?
Well, probably now there is, but that wasn't
Hmm.
in their history before.
I mean, can we actually be sure about that? Are we sure that there are zero throughout all of Polish history? There's never been a trans person who is Polish?
Well, that's the funny thing. It's like if it hasn't been written, what can we be sure of? Like we can't be sure of it. You're right, but then at the same time, like what we're just going to write them in, like
Sure, why not?
just
Especially
because.
with mythology and stuff, we write in, like, if we're not talking about being like falsely telling history. I think when it comes to fiction,
I mean,
you have a
I think
license to
if
play with
people do that,
fiction as much.
it's coming. I feel like if people do that, they're looking for that type of attention,
Actually,
politically.
you know what I'm curious
They're
about?
making their game. Yes.
Assassin's Creed has
Mm,
a real penchant for acknowledging mythology, for rewriting actual history.
hmm
It like, why isn't that an issue then? Because there's a lot of stuff in Assassin's Creed that they play around with
Well,
in terms
yeah, they
of
play around,
shaping history to
and
fit the
but
narrative, which I think is fun.
that,
I like
but they make that the
historical
point.
narrative or
Th-
historical
I feel like they make that the
fictionalization.
point of the game. They make that the point of the game where it is to, like all the conspiracies that all these major, organizations that there was an assassin organization. Like people had conspiracies about that, and so like there's so much that creatively as a storyteller, there's so much to play with.
Yeah,
You know,
I think there's a lot to play with when it comes to trans identity. You can really like get
well,
into quite a lot actually.
yeah, but not for the Polish, Witcher, a Witcher type title. Like there's certain games that probably wouldn't go that route, and there's probably always going to be games that won't, go that route. And I feel like now those type of games are pushed back on really heavy because they aren't taking that stance.
Well, I
You
mean,
know?
if I'm being honest, if you're not going to make your game, I guess, marketable to like other people, then that's kind of the free market, unfortunately. If
I mean,
if there's a trans person who boots up your this hypothetical Witcher MMO character creator, and they go, oh, I can't be trans in the game, that's kind of lame, I'm kind of less interested in this now, then
well,
I mean, I kind of am like, maybe you should have put that in if you wanted their dollar. A lot of video game development is at the end of the day a business.
mhm.
Most of the time,
So
most devs are like, we want to market and reach the broadest
a lot of
audience.
devs don't really think about, like they're really a lot of devs are focusing on marketing to boys, you know and because boys have been more consistent as video gamers than girls in
Certainly been more
throughout
socially
history.
acceptable for us men, yeah, or us men and
Yeah,
boys.
yeah,
We're
and
the
then, like it's
experts on
not
the
that
N word
girls don't play.
on Xbox.
Oh yeah, like Call of Duty and
Yeah,
all this stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
but that's the thing. It's that it's more it's better for people if they're going to make video games, if they're going to market to men, because they know that mostly men are going to play their games. That's more marketably
But
acceptable for them.
so I think I remember saying this when about like the Bud Light controversy earlier this year.
Hmm.
You already kind of, as video games come out, right? You kind of already know you're gonna get a bunch of guys playing your video games. Wouldn't it be more what's the word, monetarily efficacious to market a little bit to the females, maybe a little bit, because
Well, I
you're gonna
mean,
get whatever that number is of guys playing, because guys generally play, I think, make up a larger section of the gaming population, so you're already gonna get them. Maybe you want to shore up some of those other markets. I just don't like, to me it's like, girls play video games too. If you put in a little bit of
yeah.
effort, you're gonna get all
So
the guys you were
that's the
already gonna get,
problem.
plus some of the women. So I mean,
That's the problem. I mean, you were saying Bud Light, and just what comes to mind is how the meme is "Go woke, go broke."
right.
Like all these companies are actually trying to do as you say, and hit those other markets, but they're losing their main market.
Well, we know that the
And
get well go broke thing is like, is astroturf, is not even astroturf. It's just false. They said this. I
well,
remember this a couple years ago. They said this for Captain Marvel. It did like a billion at the box office. They've said this for any number of like movie, any number of video game, and they rarely ever actually do poorly. They have to pick out
I
very
mean,
specific metrics to
the
make something look
Captain
like it did
Marvel
poorly.
probably did well, because a lot of people want to see superhero movies, of course, and that's
Yeah,
mainly for kids. They bring their children, 13, 15, go, hey, watch Captain Marvel. But
as in the
as
age
far as
range, yeah.
people that enjoyed Captain Marvel, people didn't enjoy it that much like it wasn't enjoyed as many other Marvel movies, for sure. They
I
they
don't.
get low ratings in the tomato, you know.
I mean, the tomato meter is not exactly
And
the best metric.
IMBD,
Uh, I want to
in
see if I
all
can
metrics,
find
I
the
believe
Yeah, it has
they
a 80.
wouldn't
It
have
has a
done.
79% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'd say that's
What about for
pretty decent.
that's the is that the
Fuck.
is that the
No, I do not want. I'm not turning off my ad blocker. The tomato meter score is 79. The audience is 45. But you and I both know
45?
that Captain Marvel got review bombed before it came out. Same with like something like The Last of Us
Well, those are people
Part
that
2.
agree with that. That's those are people that agree with that, and of course, it's
Well,
like
yeah, but those are
they
people
just agree
who,
that the
yeah, those are people who are abusing the system and trying to make they make 5 accounts, do like a 1-star review. They write the same thing, or, cringe, woke trash, whatever. And those are just people who spend a lot of time online, and they rigs kind
well,
of the metric system. But that doesn't, ask most people. They'd be
I
like, yeah,
think
it
I
was a
think
movie.
that's they made the tomato meter, so I'm sure they're trying to mitigate that as much as possible,
Since
especially if
then,
it
yeah, a little bit.
disagrees
Yeah.
with but it still to this day still has some a very low score.
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean, it's,
say.
there's the only way for them to do that is to just get rid of the audience score, but then people would be outraged about that
Hmm.
next. So it's really just a lose lose. You just leave the score up and let people go watch the movie. But like, again, the get woke go broke thing, we've known that to be fiction at this point. There isn't really a
Please tell me more about that because I feel. I mean, maybe I'm looking at things differently. I would like to know, like, how is it failing? Because there's so many things that show that when you are not going woke, that you're actually succeeding in your movies.
well, if we're talking movies, so I would have to like look up an entire, like, if I type, there we go. There, I'll do this. If I type "go woke, go broke," right? What's going to come up is like Walt Disney, right? Disney Corporation, who didn't like Ron DeSantis's "Don't Say Gay" bill. They spoke out about it, and then Ron DeSantis does a bunch of different changes so that his administration can oversee more of Disney's little cutout of Florida. Like, I don't know why this is on here. The Bud Light thing, which if I go check the stock, like the Bud Light thing is funny because like you go and check the stock and it's taken a hit and you can see the pocket in which it's taken a
Hmm.
hit, but you can, like, if you follow stocks at all, it's not about like losses, wins and losses aren't gauged on, oh, we had this one pocket where our stock dropped because there was a online campaign. You want to look at broadly how long the stock has been going, and overall it's perfectly fine. It's not like amazing or anything, but it's like mostly
I think
fine.
it's soon to fall because a lot of people
Let's take
that
a look if I can find it. Oh no, actually no, give me this is the one thing Edge is a little bit better about. Anheuser Busch. Oh, thank you for having it right at the top. Let's take a look. It's at $56.20. Over the course of a year, it's up $7.16.
well, let's see the 5 year.
5 year down 33, but keep in mind 5 year, you can zoom into, do you see this huge drop?
Yeah, that
This
was
is,
actually lower.
well, yeah, this,
I wonder what happened at that time.
what, do you know what it is? Can you see it? I don't know if it's zoomed in enough that you can see the dates.
It's March 13th.
March 13th, 2020. This is COVID. This is a
Aha.
this is a real
Yeah,
drop.
definitely.
They haven't been able to
Yeah.
recover. If I go to like
Mhm.
the entire lifetime, all the
Then
way
that
up
was
here in 2016, the drop
it
is
was
right
drop.
here. This is
Uh-huh,
this
wow.
is COVID. And this is, cuz when was that? Was that this year? Was the thing? This year was the
Yes,
the
with
thing. Yeah, we're talking about this little piddle right here. This very, damn it, I didn't mean to click that. Like this little notch here, no different than this other one in July of last year. So
yeah,
it's
but
just,
those don't define what exactly, a dip is going to be. People just think that it's not going to be as profitable as it used to.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then it's going to play out over time. We're going to see, this it's just a prediction of events, but at the same time, it follows historically like what people have done to, promote whatever ideas that they want to promote. You
yeah.
know,
And I only use
like
this as an
football
example. Like,
for
I only use
instance.
this as an example for the get woke, go broke narrative because it's not real. It just isn't. There just isn't this, oh, this thing. Every time somebody's done the get woke, go broke, it never, like, oh, what's the other one? The, what is it? The Little Mermaid, which I don't think was a particularly, no, not that one, particularly good film to begin with. What am I looking for? Box office. Nope. I need the Mojo one. Let's take a look. And like, again, worldwide, $500 million. They're just, it's not real. Like, I
Well,
like,
yeah, I
this
mean,
is something I
Little
need to
Mermaid's a
drive
big
down
game.
with people. Is like,
Little
it's not
Mermaid is a
real.
big game.
I mean, it
You
is.
know,
It
Little
is.
Mermaid is a big name, and they're not making as much as they would have if they made it the way that it was
I mean, do you think
original. I
parents?
mean,
I don't know if you have kids. Do you think parents pay attention to that sort of stuff?
no, a lot of parents don't.
Yeah,
Definitely don't.
it's a Little
You
Mermaid. It's a kids
know?
movie. That's all. That's all. That's about
Yeah.
all. And keep in mind, these numbers also have to factor in that people are going to movie theaters just less since COVID. Like even at where I work, we did not see the kind of attendance that actually we saw a little bit more than we expected. But for a Disney mainstream, like classic remake, which none of them have been very good. If they were better movies, I think they would actually do a lot better. But they're good enough that Disney makes $500 million on each one of them.
Mhm.
And it's just like the whole get woke go broke stuff is just it's cope, honestly. They did the same thing with The Last of Us Part 2, and The Last of Us Part 2 did incredibly
No,
well. And The
definitely,
Last of Us Part 2 had a
definitely.
trans
Last
character
of
in
Us,
it, a whole
Last of
hog
Us
trans
Part Two.
character.
Definitely. Okay, so Last of Us Part Two. One thing is that they had exceptional storytelling, even
True.
in the like it didn't matter what they added at that point. Like it would have just been a beautiful film, no matter what. One thing was that the game kind of suffered when it came out because of that issue. A lot of people said that they were not going to get the game just because there was a big issue with them killing off what the main character was it from
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
game.
yeah. Spoilers, but
And
yeah, I'm assuming everyone's played it by
oh
now.
man, yeah, and that they attribute that to go woke go broke, but I would just say that it's just bad storytelling. Like if you're going to prop up a character and then kill them off when everybody, a lot of people are going to take issue with that. And probably, if it gets propped up in the news, of course, they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to play that game now. This sucks.
Well,
Like,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
going to
yeah.
have.
I have a friend of mine who won't play it because he knows one of the that Joel dies, and he's like, I'm just not gonna bother with it. And I'm like, that's fine. He's like, I like the character a lot. I wish they didn't do that. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to. But there were people who were, Joel getting killed off was oh, it's
Minor.
feminism gone too far. It's this, it's everything, and it's just the people who made the
Exactly.
game made a creative decision that you didn't like. It's okay. It happens a lot of the time. I lived
Mhm.
through the Game of Thrones final season. Trust me, I'm well aware of decisions that the creators or writers or whoever make for media that I like, and when I disagree with the decision making. Like I'm with you on that. But like the idea that all of this stuff is like it's all I find to be just a lot of hysteria around trying to draw everything back into a culture war. Like The Last of Us Part 2 did poorly, even though it didn't. But for people who think it did poorly, they'll go, oh, it's because there's a trans character in it. When the actual facts are, it didn't do poorly, A, but for the people that didn't want to play it, most of their issue was they liked Joel and wanted to see more of him. And they were really upset when he wasn't in the game, which
Yeah.
is fine. But then they look at, they'll look at the Last of Us 2 getting review bombed on Metacritic, and they'll go, see, people don't like trans people. And I think that's bullshit. I think that's the same type of stuff that HeelvsBabyface does. He sees something that most people don't mind, and most people have a problem with Starfield because it's probably buggy. It's definitely not the game that I think everyone was thinking it was going to be. And it's, not the deepest RPG in the world. And, there's a lot of people who are like,
give that game a chance.
I mean, it's fun. I played a bit of
that
it.
game.
Yeah, it's a
that,
Bethesda game.
Like I remember playing Skyrim and loving the crap out of Skyrim.
Yeah,
Like,
and people still remember that mostly. And with this one, there will be those people who go back into it regardless. But there's going to be, and I think like the reason why I did a video on his reaction was mainly to talk about this like kind of ignorant reaction, and in my opinion, a bit of a, if not controlled, I think he knew, or at the very least, like when the trans identity, when the idea, the concept of trans identity came to him in the small pockets that they did, he doesn't know anything but to react in the most extreme and ridiculous kind of way because that's what his content is. It's
he banks
freaking
on that.
out and
that's
always
his...
being like, it's woke, it's woke, it's woke, it's this, and it's just no. People made a decision somewhere along development. Hey, we should maybe put, like, it's pretty easy to swap out voice lines. Can we put like a non-binary option for those folks who want to role play as non-binary, whether they are in real life or aren't in real life? And and to have this kind of reaction, and I guess like my overall thing is just still like, I just don't, I like, I just don't get what the defensive nature around it is about.
I mean, well, that's the thing. To me, I think that the all that outrage is because they don't want it for law, and so he just speaks out what he knows that his group is going to react to,
Do you think
and
he's a grifter? Do you think he's being
um
disingenuous? If he's
um
just talking to his own in-group, then like, is he
you know
full of
I,
shit?
I think I don't think he's full of shit because I feel like he just hangs out with people of that same very nature. You know what I mean?
He's
Like
in
he hangs.
a echo chamber.
Yeah, that's what I would say that we're all in until we go out into the world and find out. That's what I feel. It's like most of the world would really be new to this when they go to United States. You know, a lot, like at least 60% of the world when going to United States, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's pronouns. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, keep in
You
mind
know,
also around the world there is history of trans identity and
it's a big
non-binary
bubble.
identity throughout like history. There's indigenous tribes from like
Like yeah,
you know,
Indian tribes. Yeah, that
yeah,
they
yeah, like
use.
yeah, super far, like, way before any of these are countries where,
Mm,
having people of ambiguous gender was a normal thing, as a, it was just kind of part of their society. I guess my thing is always just, if those people are shocked or if they're new to this, I like, I guess I don't have anything other than to say like, they need to educate themselves, and consuming content that's just going to tell them, no, this is that you should freak out over this, instead of taking a breath going, I'm not used to this. I'm not, you go to other countries, you're not used to a lot of things. You're not used to the language, you're not used to the
mm.
food, you're not used to the customs, and people assimilate, and there's no reason why, again, we should, I just don't feel like we should be debating or making trans identity political, in the sense that it's something to be debated, something that
Like
we
okay,
shouldn't
here's
allow or shouldn't have in our video games or media, period.
see, I get that. Like in Japan, right? They have this one day out of the year, I believe, that they celebrate Penis Day, and they walk around with giant, penises, and they celebrate the penis
Sounds very
as a
funny.
sexual It's very funny, but at the same time, like you don't see anybody talking about it because it's in their tradition. They've been doing this for centuries. You
Can't
know,
show any of this on stream, unfortunately. I'm
of
looking
course.
at pictures that are actually hilarious. I cannot sadly show any of this on stream.
Yeah, that's hilarious. No, you're gonna have to put that on Patreon.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a interesting. But yeah,
Oh
anyway,
man,
continue.
but
Sorry.
yeah. So yeah, like it's only over here because it's so new that something like this, is going to catch a lot of eyes and is going to have people choosing sides between whether they want to be exposed to this type of stuff or not. And that's why I believe that it's a big political debate, is because more people are finding often than not that they don't know their neighbors. They don't know the people that they live
We are
around because
atomized, yeah.
yeah, we're even more so now with COVID, that people are staying inside and are figuring, oh, what's the point of going outside? I could just be in the VR and chill with people there and not have to worry about all these other things.
I mean, but okay,
But
so I'm kind of curious. Do you think, and again, I'm going to bring it back, we grew up at a different time, but do you think, and that's why I'm going to use this example again, but do you think this is, again, kind of what people would say about gay people, that, I'm not comfortable around it. I don't know if I want my kids around it. I don't know, I see it as degenerate, yada, 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 more traditional.
mhm.
Do you think people have the right to not be in society with trans people? Like, that's just like, you get to be like, No,
No, I think
no, you're
I
not
think
allowed to.
when you're choosing to be gay or trans, or if it's even a choice, because a lot of people, they say that, they were born that way or whatever. But, if you're choosing to go this direction, then you have to be totally committed, because there's always going to be new people that aren't, really versed in all these things. And it's gonna be for a while, as long as you know these Muslim Chinese countries have, don't get with the program, I would say, that there's always going to be new people that are always going to find this as a political issue.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know,
those people are wrong at the end of the day. I like freedom, and I like people being able to live their lives as freely as they possibly can without obviously incurring harm onto others. And when people, I just think when people freak out about the inclusion of gay or trans or black people into their video games, I think it's kind of cringe. And like I think acceptance and like the normalization of trans identity in our society can only really result in good things. We only grow closer to each other. We only grow, I think, more connected as a nation. At the end of the day, trans people, you know, they are part of our society. They are part of people who are making art. Go to any
mhm.
pride rally, you can see a
No, of
lot of
course,
artists. You're going
definitely.
to see a lot of artists. You're
Some
going to
of the
see a lot
best,
of
some of the
creatives.
best,
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of the best, because they're exposed to so much that
yeah.
they're able to, be able to be free and make all these interesting things. But one
I
thing
think everyone
is
should be given
that
that freedom,
I
be able to
definitely believe that
experience as
too.
much as they can.
I definitely believe that too. I would just say that, it's goes back to my concern about how the old concern of the old generation, which was that the population will go down if more people are not having children. A lot of people are choosing, to undergo surgery, and then sometimes they regret it. And a lot of people are choosing, maybe I don't need a spouse and kids. Maybe a lot of people are choosing not to have kids, and that's definitely their choice, and they can do that. But I don't believe that all those type of things should be promoted, because we do want our country to do well. We do want more people, and people to, when people want to continue their ancestry in a country, they want, for their people to prosper when they move to America. They don't want to see like, oh, my family is now choosing not to not to follow certain religious norms that they used to have, and now go in a different direction than they were initially. That's the biggest that's why it's such a big debate to me.
Right. Well, let me. We've been talking for probably about, I think, like maybe somewhere around an hour and a half. So I'm gonna have to let you go. But let me respond to that, and then we'll have to bid each other farewell for a bit.
Yes.
Um, in terms of when it comes to people who are concerned about population growth and that
Mhm.
sort of stuff, I'll be honest. I think most of that is hogwash. I think a lot of people, especially in the United States, who use birth rates as a example of why we can't allow for gay and trans people and everybody else to exist, basically non-heterosexual couples, to exist and be and live amongst us, are quite frankly
I
white
don't think they're
supremacists.
doing that though.
I would disagree. I think a lot of these same arguments were used for a long time to challenge interracial marriage. Before this, a lot of that rhetoric was the same stuff that you and I grew up with during the 90s and the 2000s over gay marriage and into obviously the 2010s. At the end of the day, I think when we're talking about population growth, we have ways to uh, ameliorate that, right? We can open up immigration, allow more people in. We can allow for the adoption of kids into these families. We can do a lot of things. Trans people make up an incredibly small percentage of the population. And
Hmm.
I don't really think that we are looking down the barrel of us, going into negative population growth. Or at the very least, I don't see us walking down. I shouldn't say that because that is technically an objective, like measurement tool. But like, I don't think we're at the point, and I don't think we have a problem where, oh no, we're not going to be able to populate the earth anytime soon. What we have what we're having trouble with, especially here in the United States, and you live here too, so you should know this. People can't afford to have kids. That's the by far number one reason people do not have children. It's why I don't have kids. It's why all 4 of my friends do not have children. Is economically, it's just not an option. It's hard enough putting food on the table, keeping a roof over everyone's head. The way that we've
I think people
let
are
the
still
system,
having kids.
people are still having kids, absolutely.
They're just
People aren't
deleting
planning.
them a lot sooner than
People have kids by accident, or they don't for a really long time. That's been my experience. I know people who got pregnant in high school at the end. I know people who, got pregnant after, maybe like a year or 2 ago, after they've kind of settled down a bit.
Contraceptive is pretty new in our society. It hasn't been even a century yet.
What is? I'm sorry.
Contraceptive.
Yeah.
That stuff is pretty new. And
well, I mean, technically, condoms have been around for a really long time. Birth control, yes, but forms of birth control have existed for quite a long time.
Like we have way more access to it now than we've had before in any time. And,
oh, certainly.
Condoms have become more reliable. I would say, but
also not made of pigskin.
Yeah.
But like, let me just say, because we're gonna get into a tangent, and I do gotta let you go. My point with all of this is to say there's a lot of issues with how we've organized society, and I think a lot of them come down to economics. And I think the reason why somebody like HeelvsBabyface doesn't know any of this shit, I think he's ignorant of a lot of things. But at the end of the day, the Republican Party and a lot of right-wing media generally is attempting to distract most people from, and especially their views, from economics. You don't really hear Ben Shapiro, any of those guys. You don't hear them talk about economics a lot. They talk about immigration. They talk about trans rights. They talk about gay rights. They talk about woke culture. And the reason they do that is because economics would actually solve a lot of this. Not enough people are having kids. Well, it's because having kids is too expensive. But you would have to tax some of the rich a little bit more and distribute the wealth a little bit better. And unfortunately, people like Daily Wire employees just aren't really that interested in it. That's not the politics that animates them. They are interested in, I don't even think that. I think they're more interested in making like, the birth rate issue a gay people existing issue, partially because they're incredibly religious and traditional, but I think partially because it's just not the thing they want to talk about. They're not interested in the economics of it. They're not interested in raising wages, raising taxes, offering universal systems for people to get healthcare, people to get education, people to actually start small businesses. No. None of them are interested in any of that. And people like HeelvsBabyface watch their content, absorb no economic information, no perspective on the economics of the world. And when they're faced with pronouns in their video games, freak the fuck out, because all they know is the reason why the world is where it is isn't because people can't pay for rent, isn't because people can't pay for housing, isn't because people can't, afford vacations, people can't properly invest, people don't have retirement plans. No, it's because gay people exist and we're not making enough kids. And that it's just kind of a rough cycle, I think. But yeah, I've talked for a long time. I rambled just now for a good break. I really
appreciate being on your show.
I appreciate you coming on and speaking openly. I really do.
And I feel like we had a real civil debate. It was really cool.
Yeah, I label things debates just because, let's be honest, it's the SEO thing to do. But I try not to approach these too aggressively. But either way, yeah, by all means, stick around as much as you'd like. I'm gonna grab water.
Well, you have a blessed day.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. God, I think I just literally ran out of whatever the voice equivalent is of gas. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I mostly say to everybody, there's always an open invitation. So, if you ever have a topic you want to talk about, by all means, reach out. You know where to go for that. And same with anybody watching, you should know where to go for that. But
Alrighty, man.
yeah.
Well, you have a
Void, you have
blessed night.
yourself a
I'll
nice
see
night.
you. Peace.
Bye bye. All right. Well, that was fun, now wasn't it, guys? All right, we're gonna do this. You know the thing. You know the thing that they tell like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to